Let's get some details up here. Hello, 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 hello. I'm just trying to get our special guest in today. So let's get this on board. Alex from AA Drafting. So hello everybody. For those who don't know, I'm Kaz or Kazy from PropertyByKazy, and today we're at week 2 of another segment of Ask Somebody Else. An amazing opportunity to ask somebody else or another property specialist or a property expert about, any questions you want to know about their particular field. So I've just added him in. Last week, I believe our guest was 10, 15 minutes late. So this week, hopefully he beats that and, the maximum of 5 minutes late. Because, I love an opportunity to talk, even though this is supposed to be an opportunity for somebody else to talk and for me to listen.
Hello.
We have him, the man himself, Mr. Alex. That's
How are you?
sensational. I'm good,
How are
thank
you? How are
you.
you?
So you beat the world
Just
record
trying
of
to,
being 15 minutes late. So obviously 2 minutes is perfect. And it gave me an
yeah,
opportunity to talk for a little while.
no problem. Just trying to get a good stand here. Let me see.
No problem. So while you sort that out, again, for those, because more people are joining as we speak, so we're up to 65 now. Today is week 2, episode 2 of Ask Somebody Else. My guest today is Alex from AA Drafting. So I'm going to give a little introduction of what I know about them. You are sideways now. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. You're back the right
Yeah.
way. So I'm going to give a little introduction about what I know about them, and then I'm going to let him introduce himself. So AA Drafting are a specialist architect firm that cover, they're based in South London, but cover everywhere within the M25. They do everything from lease plans to loft conversions, rear extensions, conversions from a house to a single dwelling, new build plans, structural drawings, building control drawings, construction drawings, as well as your CGI, so your computer generated images that you would put in place if you were doing maybe a new build scheme or something more complex. How have I done with the summary of what you guys do?
It's pretty spot on, guys. Pretty spot on.
Great.
We pretty much cover majority of everything planning. Specialize in residential properties.
Nice.
We do commercial, but a lot of kind of commercial to resi conversions and change of class uses. But we're pretty much a one-stop shop for everything residential, from kind of design to your kind of construction and your construction packages.
Nice. And how long have you guys been running?
So we've been running for 8 years now.
Okay.
Kind of started off as a kind of one-man band myself, and then kind of grown where we have kind of a nice structure in place with other kind of design technicians and structural engineers on board. So it's it's quite a good little team we've got here, and we just aim to provide planning permission, provide property gains and planning gains for developers, single kind of users.
Nice. So
And
what I was thinking is, so anybody who's got a question, you can use the question feature at the bottom to ask your questions. They're pinned. I see them, and I'm going to forward those questions over to Alex, and hopefully he can answer them. So again, the segment today is Ask Somebody Else. So you've got an opportunity. I mean, Alex, what's your hourly rate at the moment? What's your going rate? Your going rate, I know your going rate because you charge it to me sometimes. So you've got an opportunity today to save yourself
yeah.
a lot of money. He's here, on his Sunday. Right now, there's a big game on that he's currently missing for this. So take advantage of the fact that he is here. He is willing to give out some free advice, because that is what this segment is about, an opportunity for us as people that have maybe, we've got a little bit further. We've still got so much further we want to travel, but are doing quite well in our journey, and want an opportunity to give back. So ask a question. No such thing as a silly question. No such thing as a too detailed question. And if it is maybe too detailed, maybe you can get in touch, and I'll give you Alex's contact details or AA Drafting's details, so you can get in contact with him directly. And maybe I'll put a link up for a direct contact form after this live. But yeah, so ask away of all the questions. In the meantime, while those questions build up, I'm going to ping over a couple of questions to you, because I think one thing that's interesting, and maybe I didn't touch on in my intro, is away from you being, you know, an architect and running a business, you're also a property developer yourself. So you see things on both sides, you know, both sides of the coin effectively. And a lot of
Yeah,
people
that's
that
right.
want to get into property, you know, maybe think that because they want to do developments and think they have to do developments initially. But, you know, sometimes there's a different journey into getting into property development. So I know you said you've been running for 8 years, but to qualify as an architect, what are the requirements? Where did you study for how long? Like maybe talk to us about that a little bit.
So yeah, I mean, I studied in Portsmouth Uni,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of worked abroad for a long time. I was in
Mm-hmm.
China, based in China for a while, and kind of working on projects there. So it's pretty kind of structured, long route for to kind of do this, but that's in the more academic side of things in terms of kind of property development and that you've got to try, you know, you've got to just get out there and make your first step into the world of property development. So it's
Mm-hmm. But I
architectural
think
wise, it's yeah, a lot of university, a lot of study,
how
and
much do
then
you feel that your background, you know, in as an architect or a professional property professional, but in another field, has aided you to be a success as a developer or a property investor?
it's made me more confident
Mm-hmm.
when I go into deals, or if I see a potential deal, I will know, okay, this has potential planning gains that we could have. This we can do a extension here. We can split this into flats kind of instantly.
Mm-hmm.
That just comes from my experience and being able to lean on that. So it definitely gives me confidence in
Because
that side of things.
I would assume, given your background, did you raise your capital to do your first flip or your first project through your experience within AA draft, or through obviously your work within AA drafting?
Yeah. So I went kind of a more traditional route for in terms of
Okay.
my property development route. So I kind of saved and worked abroad, saved a lot of money,
Where
purchased
did you
my
work
first
abroad?
in China. So I was based in
I
China
did.
for a
I
while.
did know that.
Yeah.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's something I think not a lot of people touch on, that you do
Mm.
have to make sacrifices. If you know you want to get
Yeah.
into property or invest in property, you worked overseas in China, you did the hard graft. It's not an instant decision. Like, so when I see a lot
Yeah.
of courses that are saying pay £500, £1,000, £5,000 for
Mm.
a course, and tomorrow, you know, become a property developer, for me, I think it
Yeah.
sells sometimes a little bit of an incorrect picture. So that's amazing too about it. You know, this, you know, that you actually went out there and sort of plied your craft even overseas. So we're actually starting to get
Yeah.
quite a few
Yeah.
questions
Definitely.
coming in. But I think just a couple more that I had on my side. So again, so you've explained your kind of journey, your background, the company, and in terms of what do you like, or what's your why in property? What do you really like about it? Is it design? Is it build? Is it what motivates you in the property space?
Design. I I enjoy seeing something I put on paper being constructed. So knowing that
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
initially this was this, there wasn't anything like this, and no one had this thought in their mind, and then being able to see something that just was in my mind actually
And I
come to
think
reality. So that
and
that was
that
that's the
ticks
main thing for me.
boxes on the architectural side and the development side, because that's
Yeah.
something I really like and something I preach a lot, that
Mm.
you don't necessarily, you make the money from seeing what other people have missed. And because you've gone down the route of, improving personal circumstances, then improving your knowledge base, you can now see those opportunities that other people can't. So I think that's something,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
really, really good. So anyway, I've talked enough. I like talking, but I'm off today. This is Alex's turn to talk. So I'm going to go through a couple of the questions. Again, guys, if you can, try and ask the questions in the question box as opposed to in the chat, because they might get lost with other people talking, etc. So Kelly Kells has asked, hi, when is it the best time to involve an architect when buying a property?
Okay, so it all depends on what needs to be done or what's kind of being proposed. So once I think you want to kind of ideally have the property in place, so you want to have exchanged and know
Hmm.
that okay, that's certified that you're going to purchase the property, and then straight after that, I mean, getting someone on board to go through things to let you know what potentially can and can't be done.
Hmm.
Um, there
And
isn't
what's
really
that
a
called? Is that
time I
a
would.
feasibility study? Is that
So yeah,
or?
so there's, for example, if you purchase a property and then you're not sure yourself,
Hmm.
as the owner, what can be done, you can contact an architect for a feasibility study. They can let you know exactly what can be done at the property,
Yeah.
extension wise, permitted development wise, potential for conversions or demolition and new builds. That's something that an architect can kind of let you know. So there isn't
Okay.
really a set timeline. I'd say as
So you would
soon
say
as
after exchange slash completion potentially.
yeah,
So as
you
soon as
want
that's
to,
done,
yeah, as soon
because
as
I
that's
think,
done,
yeah,
then
we'll have to plug them. We're gonna have an amazing property specialist, a conveyancing solicitor in a couple of weeks, and they'll also be able to help with questions like that because I do think, as much as that's an architectural question, a lot of that also comes down to what you're doing. Because let's say your plan is to buy a house and convert it into flats. If you do
mm,
your planning prior to exchange or completion, and then you get that planning, there's nothing from stopping the vendor from pulling out and saying, well, look, you've just increased the value of my property by £100,000. If you want
mm,
to buy it, I'm going to put it back on the market for loads more. Because in
yeah,
reality,
exactly.
worst case scenario, that same vendor has to pay your legal costs, but there's nothing really stopping them from doing that. So, Kelly, I would say, typically speaking, I mean, there's no harm having a conversation and engaging with the architect, but also, depending if you're in a chain, properties can fall through. You don't want to be investing too much money at a point in which you don't own the assets. I think Alex is bang on the money there with after exchange slash completion. You don't know I'm so dyslexic. So when I'm reading names, I just want a lot of excuses. I want a lot of leeway. So I'm gonna say the I'm not. I'm just going to read. I'm going to read the question out, and you're going to know who you are because it's a very specific question. So it says, "Hey Alex, saw your amazing planning permission granted on Homesdale Road, SE25 into 3 flats on a semi-Victorian house. Do you think the same could be achieved with a terrace property on the exact same road, same layout?"
Okay,
I
terrace
mean, it's a very
property.
specific
So
question.
yeah, so the terrace properties, the issues that come with converting in on terrace properties generally all stem to amenity space at the back. So we
And that
you
means
generally
gardens,
need to
right?
provide garden. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
need to provide
That's,
garden and outdoor
not
space.
everyone's as technical as you, sir.
So yeah, so you need to provide a kind of outdoor space for all the flats. With terrace properties, that's generally where the issues arise from. In certain boroughs, you can do external staircases from the first floor, but
Hmm.
it's not common in the so Homesdale, so the Croydon borough.
Hmm.
Um, but generally, garden space and amenity space are generally the issues that come with converting in a terrace property.
Okay. So for those that don't know, Alex has done literally all my plans for my new builds, loft conversions, office to residential, loft space, um, loft conversions, rear extensions, double story, single story side. Everything that I've done has come through Alex. So he's taught me a lot, and through going through the process, I'll send out, but Alex, I found this house. It's amazing. I've seen they've converted it. And he'll tell me exactly that the house is the same, it looks the same, but because you need an internal corridor, you lose the space. So I think a lot of the time, if you're looking at a place and using that as precedence, make sure you can do exactly what they did. I would say if you're using is like a good general advice. If you're trying to find
Yeah,
use a property as an example, it really does have to tick all the boxes and be very similar. So we've been going for
yeah.
about 15
So
minutes now. So for those who are
mm,
sorry, just for those who have just come in or not in, today I'm on with Alex from AA Drafting. So if you're not following him, make sure you are. Work is amazing, does all my work, and I can give you a recommendation, direct contact details if you do have any architectural work that you need to get him in touch with. Now, listen, we've got 75 people in the room. Do want to try and get out to 100. So if you are in here and are asking questions, make sure you send the link to a lab to a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, get some people in it, because obviously what we're trying to do is share this knowledge base. Obviously, I know he does amazing work. He does all of my work. So, want to get more people in it to learn, because you're learning for free. Right now, if he's here for an hour, he's giving £150 an hour's worth of work away for free. To get your questions in, to get your friends in, or book him for an hour yourself. Either way, but someone's gonna learn today. So sorry, let me get on. We've got really loads of questions. We've got 10 questions. I want to work through the comment section quickly. So we have Rory Kenny Property has asked, doing a development currently, do you always require technical drawings or just initial plans? This is
okay, so
we have a lot.
Yeah. Obviously, initial plans you would have got for your planning permission.
And sorry, just to add, he's added, it's a development, is a double-story side extension and single-story rear. Just he's added a bit more context.
Okay, double-story side and single-story rear. Okay, I mean, generally, I always like to have the technical drawings because with the team I use, I like to pass on a design package. So at A-Draft, what we do is we have phase 1 and phase 2. I like to pass on a design package which includes the planning drawings in phase 1, and phase 2 is all our technical structural drawings. These drawings are more detailed. They have all the dimensions, all your measurements, your lighting points, drainage runs. They're kind of a full package to pass to the builder. I prefer that because it saves a lot of back and forth, a lot of calls, a lot of where should this go, where's that point, where's this point, and I feel it gives the builder a clear indication of what he needs to do. And I think both
do you
parties
prefer that for clients or for yourself when developing, or for both?
So I prefer that for myself, and then I would then recommend, if that's what I do for myself, I recommend that to clients as well. So I think it's better if you do have kind of a full package passed on to your contractor.
Yeah, I think personally, as a general standpoint, I think Alex is right. It's better. Alex will know for me, he doesn't do that for me because he knows that I'm inclined to change my mind quite frequently, and I do love a design. So the TV wall that was going over there has now been shifted to the middle of the room, mid-build. So generally speaking, I don't. So it really does depend. I think if you're a developer, you just want to get the numbers out. So your design, you specify from quite early, and you're looking at maximizing value. When you're doing something as a residential owner occupier, a lot of the time, I think that design brief is a bit more dynamic from my experience anyway, working as a contractor for owner occupiers. And also it becomes down to the builders as well, because some builders almost like to build like Lego. They want to know from day one where everything's going and what have you. And I think for clarity and, just being straightforward, I think what you suggested is the best. But for, you're the evil genius that I feel like I am, that's always changing my mind, I don't go with it. But I think Alex is right in that regard, that generally speaking, they are good to have. Okay, I'm just scrolling through, so bear with me a second. Do you have any tips, Alex, for somebody who is 16 and trying to get into property?
16 and trying to get into property. So by that, I guess you mean property development. I think shadowing, working under someone, that's almost the best advice and education you can get, is actively being on site and working and seeing how things are done. Obviously education, college, uni, depending on kind of which route you'd like to go. But I feel personally there's no better education than actually being on site and being thrown into the middle of everything.
The practical, couple that with, the academic side, the learning in general. So there's loads of books, I think couple posts back, maybe 5 posts ago, I posted like 5 really good books to read that I found really beneficial in terms of getting into property development. One thing that we always say every time, what I always say, Alex says, and we have this conversation all the time to anybody around us, credit. Like, if you want to be a developer, you need credit. you need to be able to leverage your income. You need to be able to leverage your capital. So credit is going to really help with that. So make sure, you know, you protect your credit as if it was whatever is your favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't really get discussed in schools as well.
As
It's
much
very
as it should.
important.
Financial literacy is
Yeah.
really important, and something that I'm probably going to mention every week. Honestly, so you're going to get tired of it and
Yeah.
just get used to it. What is the best advice regarding external factors, i.e., neighbors or other people opposing plans or planning permission? Mad as us.
Yeah. So in terms of neighborhoods, I mean, it's a common issue we have with planning. No one likes to see change, and
Mm-hmm.
with the kind of applications that we send through, especially the conversion applications, you do get a lot of neighbors opposing. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a recent application we had 35 neighbors objecting.
Wow.
We still got planning.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily, it's not the be all and end all of an application. You do have to make sure you've covered your tracks and everything you've done in planning, it meets the regulations of the borough and the London guidelines. But I wouldn't be too afraid of complaints, because majority of the complaints are very trivial: sound, working hours,
Okay.
disturbance, not liking the thought of something.
I guess as well, one thing you taught me was obviously you know what kind of complaints you're likely to get. And in your design package, you've already answered those questions. So
Exactly.
when you get
Yeah.
the complaints, so you've told me, for example, I've said, Alex, why am I paying for a day and night survey? And you said,
Yeah.
oh, because
Yeah.
just in case this neighbor complains about, you know, impact of light, we've already got that in the package. Why are they
Yeah.
complaining about parking? I've done a parking survey already. So I think particularly if maybe you've
Yeah.
looked at previous applications and seen that there's been loads of complaints on that road or loads of objections, then it's more important to make sure your design package and your brief and what's that document? Is it the design package or what's it called? You know, like when
Design and access statement, is that?
design and access statement, that's the one. So your design and access
Yeah.
statement is comprehensive, and because the
Very
last thing you
important.
want to do is because you forgot to do something small, you end up getting declined, and then you have to wait
Yeah.
another period of time, go for appeal or resubmit the application just because you missed something. And I'll be honest, I'm not just selling AA drafting because I use them or because I know them or because I've worked with them for a long time, but I have worked with other architects. And look at you smiling. You like that one, yeah? Because I worked with other architects and other architects that I'll go to as a developer. And I'm saying, look, I found this land and I want to build 5 houses. And they're like, yeah, I love those 5 houses. They're going to be great. And
Mm.
people will draw you anything and charge you for them without actually
Yeah,
having a
of course.
conversation of
Yeah.
how feasible something is to get past. And that's why since working, you know, with a drafting Touchwood, I haven't had declines. I haven't had rejections because he'll tell me on conception to say, look, we can do that, but you're likely to waste your money. What I would advise, and I think that's the benefit of having an architect who's also a developer, because they understand both sides of the
Yeah, of the
conversation.
coin. Yeah.
There's maximizing money and there's also the likelihood of being successful. But yeah, so that
Yeah,
was just
definitely. It's
a general shout out for the team over there. Um, okay, this is just a general hello. Good to see you, Alex. William from NW. Alex provides a fantastic service. So I'm
Oh, okay.
assuming
That's from
NW's
solicitors.
William, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be for lease plans?
That's lease plans. Yeah. So we kind of cover all kind of lease plans during
Mm-hmm.
conveyancing. Generally, lease plans are required
So do you
if
get a
there's
lot
been
of work from, is it
alterations.
solicitors and estate agents, or who tends to book you in for lease
Yeah.
plans?
Yeah. So generally for lease plans, it's solicitors,
Mm-hmm.
or the vendor will go through the estate agent, but generally it's solicitors, and then just
Okay.
providing a simple plan which shows the demise and shows shared areas in the property. So it's another
Um,
service that we do.
so I think there was somebody asked quite a specific question. What is the average cost of drawings for a single story side and double story rear extension? So, I mean, I guess probably maybe
Okay.
rather than average cost, your average cost, maybe rather because industry costs can, vary drastically.
Yeah, one thing with the industry is it's in terms of costing it's there's such a range.
Hmm.
It's so hard to kind of pinpoint rough costs. I
Hmm.
think if you set a budget, and I could say to you, okay, if you have a budget for um, the first phase, so design, and then your building control drawings, if you have a budget of around £2,000 to
Hmm.
cover your drawings and your planning permission, I think you'll find
Hmm.
someone
And do
who
the
can.
council fees vary quite a lot, or are
No,
they quite
council fees
standard?
are pretty standard, pretty
Pretty standard
standardized.
across the board. So it doesn't matter if you go
Yeah,
from Croydon to Lambeth or outside of
that's
London,
right.
they tend
Yeah,
to be
it's all
within
done
reason.
through. Well, we use the government planning portal,
Oh,
and
okay, so it's pretty standardized.
it's
Okay,
pretty
that's
standardized
good because I know
fees
there's
for
a
that.
lot of
So
stuff that's council related that has no standardization at all. But yes, that's good.
yeah,
That's good
yeah,
to
of
hear on
course,
that
yeah.
size then. Okay, that's nice. We got a couple people that no questions, just they appreciate you. So just to let you know you're being appreciated. I think Rory said thank you as well
Okay,
for the
thank
answer
you.
to his question. Geordie
Yeah.
Greaves is in the building, Mr. DJ, quite a few other people, loads of people actually that we're here today. So let's have a look with this investing with Hobes. When searching for a property to renovate, what's the first thing you're looking at for signals of big returns for a flip potential, effectively? So it's a
Okay,
bit more.
so
It's not so much
um,
architecturally, but kind of just. And
yeah,
again, not
more
every question
property
has to have a
development.
really
So
detailed answer because there's so many questions pinging through that we'll try and get through as many, as
yeah.
many as possible.
So generally, I mean, I like conversion. So I
Hmm.
like properties that I can convert into multiple units.
Hmm.
That's something I I say I specialize in, and something I just generally like doing and getting planning for. What I
Hmm.
look for in those type of developments are the kind of square footage of the
Hmm.
property in its original state.
Okay, so you got the size.
Um, so the size of the property,
An
the
original
surround.
state. What do you mean by that?
So
Just
without
like the word.
any, is that without any additional extensions that have been put on
Okay, so
pre,
the size, long
yeah,
term size, so pre recent development. So you got the size, and that size
yeah,
has to be like original state.
original
Other
state pre
bits.
1980s at the property. So
Mm-hmm.
um, you want to kind of make sure that that is over 130 square meters.
Okay, you got a
Um,
specific.
yeah, and then also that only applies if it's a three-bedroom house.
Mm-hmm.
There are different rules and regulations if, for example, for larger properties with 4 or 5 bedroom houses, but generally 130 square meters is what I look for. I
And
look
would that be a
for
bigger size? I'm assuming. For would it need more space or less space if it was a
so
bigger
you can
property?
there's 6 habitable rooms. There's different ways you can
Okay, so there's
go
different
around
ways to
things.
skin a cat, sort of thing. So in
Yeah,
terms of you could
exactly.
get
Yeah,
planning under a different avenue, but generally speaking,
yeah,
particularly in London, unless you're spending millions, you're looking at sort of 130 square meters or within that
yeah,
ballpark, as opposed to a six-bedroom, which are a lot more expensive.
exactly.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then you want to look for surrounding land, gardens, parking.
Hmm.
Um, these are things that are out of your control, and these are things that generally are actually most important because you can't get around parking, you
So we've
can't
got
get around
size,
amenity space.
130 square meters. That's original
Yeah,
state land. So I guess that's probably in response to the question in regards to terrace versus a semi, for example. Maybe like
yeah,
more amenity space or garage on the side and just space for
yeah,
amenity. So I know in the past we've had to do, bin storage, bike racks,
yeah,
riser
exactly.
cupboard for utilities. So having that space to get those things in. So I think those are five key points to think about. I guess the question as well,
Yeah,
just to add to
and
Alex's answer, obviously in terms of potential flips, what he's talking about with a conversion is somewhere with the potential to add value. So the question was, just to reiterate, when searching for a property to renovate, what's the first thing that signals a big return? The potential to make change that property or to improve that property significantly is where your value is going to be added. So obviously, I mean, a really rundown
yeah,
property, could add value through doing that property up.
Yeah.
However,
So,
depending on the
and
price you buy it for, you
yeah,
know,
and also
go
you
on.
want to make use of the permitted development guidelines. So these are three. These are actual different rules and regulations which the government have placed
Mm,
on councils,
mhm,
and to maximise your property. These don't require planning permission. You
mhm.
can inform the council that you're going to undertake these extensions, but they don't necessarily require planning permission. So it's you want to use these permitted development guidelines, maximize the size of the property to its maximum potential, and then within that kind of new structure, do your conversions and do your alterations, internal alterations. So that's just something we look to do. We look to do use permitted development to its maximum, and then do all our internal alterations once that's been achieved.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Another question for how you feeling? How are you finding today? Let me ask you about yourself. Are you good? Have you got a drink over there?
Uh,
I'm
I'm
currently
very
going with a
good.
grape soda. You not picked
I'm
up a coffee?
healthy
Okay,
water. So
okay, nice,
we're
nice.
doing good over here.
I see the skin glowing. I love
Ah,
that. So yeah, but that's good. I'm glad. Obviously, Alex was a bit. He wasn't sure originally if he wanted to come on the live. He said, you know, he stayed away from the internet for a little while, like myself. But I
mm,
think it's important to like have professionals, qualified people like yourself on here, because there's a lot of developers that talk, and there's a lot of people that are property professionals. But I think having a specialist on like yourself to answer these direct questions, and I'll answer them based on my experience, but you'll answer them based on facts, figures, and expertise, which is great.
yeah, of
So
course.
really
Yeah.
happy to have you on. So
Thank
I'm
you.
so bad at reading people's names, and you're not helping me. You're seeing me struggle. You're seeing me struggle with names. So
I can't
I
actually see the
Okay, you can't see the thing. Okay, the open vessel.
no.
I got to that one. That one took me like 2 minutes to process. So the open vessel was said, I've seen a property with a bathroom on the ground floor. Is it beneficial to move the bathroom to the back of the second floor and lose the space like in a room effectively?
Um, Difficult because your bedrooms generally is where your money is in the
Mm,
property. So you wouldn't want to lose a bedroom just to replace the location of a bathroom. So if it's going to impact on the bedroom, I would say no.
mm,
But if there's a way to alter the first floor to still
mm,
provide a bathroom as well as keeping the
mm.
number of bedrooms on the first floor, then that's stuff definitely something you should be looking at,
Yeah,
and that could be done
because
through either extensions or just kind of internal layout alterations.
because I actually know I was speaking to somebody recently who effectively that was their strategy, like in like quite affluent
Yeah.
areas, just rearranging the
Mm.
bathroom that was typically downstairs through the kitchen, not really a conventional layout for modern living, moving it upstairs, kind
Yeah.
of getting a slightly bigger open plan kitchen, living room, creating a bedroom downstairs, and that was a really good strategy that they were implementing to allow them
Mm.
yeah, to allow them to be successful. So I think it is, you have to look at the values. And again, in the same way you're speaking to Alex today, speak to an estate agent. They'll be the ones that have bought and sold properties, throughout the local area. They'd be able to tell
Yeah.
you kind of what impact that would have on any potential sale price. But also, if it's your residential property and it's not so
Mm.
much of an investment, and that's going to, make your standard of living or how you feel within that property loads better, and the expense isn't too much, then yeah, I think that's also a big factor you need to think about. I think another good thing you said is it's at the back of the property, and you're going to be moving it to the back of the property again, which is another important thing that sometimes I'll be like, Alex, why is this over here? I don't want the bathroom over here. But then he says, well, Gaz,
Yeah.
you've got your main 4-inch waste pipe is here. There's nothing on the front of the house.
Mm.
So do you want a
Yeah.
sunny flow? Do you want like your joists? Do you want to redo all of your joists? They run in the opposite
Yeah, I
direction.
think that's something that comes with doing developments as well. So when we try to provide a design, it's a dysfunctional design
Mm,
that is actually easy to build. You don't want, for example, your bathrooms in all different locations in
mm,
the property, and then, as you said, your plumbing is just a nightmare.
yeah.
So it's just, yeah, it's providing kind of functional designs and making it easier. once the actual
Yeah,
construction has taken place.
because effectively away from being a developer myself in the same way as a developer and as his architectural firm, a developer, and also have a construction company. So within our construction company, a lot of the time I'll be approached at a stage where, or before Instagram, I was approached at a stage where they've already got their drawings and effectively looking for a construction company. But there would be instances where I'd look at the plans and I would just say, I'm not building that because
Nightmare.
it's a nightmare. Like
Yeah,
literally,
yeah,
so, or I would say, do you know what? You're going to have to instruct my architect and we're going to have to redesign this because the cost of me building that
mm,
might be, me building that is going to add £10,000 onto your build cost. Whereas you getting new plans done, maybe are going to be £2,000. So yeah, you've lost out and you've effectively
yeah,
paid for plans that are not fit for purpose. However, I've saved you money in the long term. So I definitely think making sure that not just to say, just use me or just use Alex, but using, a firm of architects and builders who have a relationship and a good working relationship can stop you needing a project manager mid-build to just deal with
oh,
the back and
100%.
forth and
Yeah,
people with the blame game because it's, yeah, that's just from experience and I'm maybe not articulating what I want to say exactly, but if you've got people that have a working relationship, especially if you're time poor and don't have the time to project manage, you'll save yourself so much time and so much expense. Let me fire through a couple of these other questions. So someone said, what is the turnaround or when your service, what is the turnaround once your services have been employed to have the drawings submitted to the council for planning permission?
okay, so generally, once a survey's been conducted, drawings should take around kind of 14 working days. The council generally take between 6 to 8 weeks
Yep,
to
if you're lucky.
to if you're lucky, yeah, to get an outcome on the answer. Um, if I'm honest, it never is 6 to 8 weeks unless it's permitted development. Um, Even on my personal own project, planning took around a year to gain.
How long did it take
And
on my project? The one that I'm still waiting
um,
for.
we're still waiting for it.
But the
So
difference is, and I say this to
yeah,
people, would you rather have plans that are, I'm shooting for a lot in my plans. I like a lot, like all developers. I tell Alex, he says you can get 3 units. I'm like, come on, give me 5. We settle on 4.
mm,
So if you want a lot, sometimes waiting it's still, it's buy to let mortgage. The rent is covering, the mortgage payments. So I'm happy and hopefully we're going to have, touch wood, some amazing results at the end.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's what you don't want to do is you don't want to rush in an application, and you want to form a relationship. How we tend to do it here is form a relationship with your planner, where they're comfortable to talk to you, comfortable to let you know if there's any changes they like. We can all pester the planners and the council to hit the timescales and deadlines that they've
Mhm.
set. But generally, what that does is it forms a barrier between you and the planner. So the relationship isn't there. So what we like to do here is just speak to them. They're just like you and I. They've got a job and they've got hundreds of applications to go through,
Yeah.
and they may be delayed. But it's just forming a relationship because then they can come back to you and say, "Look, Alex, we'd like it if you just move this, and then we can pass it." And it's those kind of simple conversations that can be had once a good relationship has been formed with your planning officer.
Yeah, no, I think that's very key. Okay, so we have got loads and loads of questions. So I'm gonna try and shoot through a few of them quite quickly, like quick fire round,
Quick
multiple
fire,
points.
okay.
I'm gonna decide whether or not I don't like your answer, how quick it is, and how expert I believe
Okay,
your answer
okay,
has been.
okay,
So okay,
okay.
so this isn't really a question, but thank you for your kind words. MMHM Structures just said that they're a structural engineer and they think that it's a really good discussion that we're currently having. So thank you for that.
We're always
Miss,
looking for structural engineers, so
okay.
that's something that yeah. So
So
yeah,
again,
just
reach
keep in
out,
touch.
network, make sure
Yeah,
you connect, drop them a DM and see how you guys can potentially work together. So that's what you get from engaging. Miss RB80 has said, would you say it's worth going through pre-planning before engaging with your services?
Okay, so with pre-planning, generally you would engage with, I would advise engaging with an architect to then do your pre-planning. That way you can form a rough outline, rough designs of how you'd like to, or what you'd like to achieve, and then take that to the planning officer to have a discussion. What I like to do is I like to provide a near enough full 75% detail package, design package to send along with pre-planning. That way you're pretty much getting a full indication on whether the council likes your idea or not. So
That's the thing. I've seen a lot of people that will go to pre-planning just as an individual with something they've sketched on paper. And
exactly. It's
whilst
almost a waste
it's
of
like,
money.
and pre-planning is expensive as well. It's almost just as planning
Very
expensive
expensive.
as your planning app.
Yeah.
So I think if you're gonna
Yeah.
do it, let's do it right. Like, because if you go there with something you've sketched on paper and we're talking about potentially a conversion, have you taken into account your amenity space? Have you told them how the gardens are going to be split? Where the bin storage going to be? Are you going to have the bike racks they want? Is the roof in keeping with the roofs in the local area? What are the windows going to look like? You know, so many other things that maybe you've not considered, that you're spending thousands, and it is thousands of pounds, to not get a comprehensive answer. So I do
Yeah.
think, I think your answer is perfect. I'm so bad at reading names. See, every time I do this is me trying to concentrate on reading the name. Kuji, 1983, has said, from your experience where a local planning favors the retention of family homes, so 3 or 4 beds, is it even worth trying to apply for conversion to smaller units?
Okay. It is. There's 2 ways to kind of go about it. You can demonstrate that the area has sufficient family homes, 3 to 4 bedroom properties. Or what you can do is within your conversion, provide a 3-bedroom flat, which is considered a family unit. So that's something I personally had to do on my latest project. As a 3-bedroom house, and I provided a 3-bedroom flat on the ground floor. So the council will still consider that to be a family dwelling, and it replaces the 3-bedroom house that you're converting. So the two ways: either demonstrate to the council that there is sufficient 3 or 4-bedroom houses in the area through estate agents, through planning history, and estate and guidelines, or provide a 3-bedroom flat within your conversion itself.
Nice one. Nice. 40 Accounting has actually, do you know what? We've had this question. So this was basically a question asking how long it takes for approval. So we have had that question for 40 Accounting. 40 Accounting are going to be with us on the Sunday the 21st, so not this Sunday, the following Sunday. So they're an accounting firm. They do my account, so do specialize to a degree within the property sector. So again, make sure you've got that one in the diary for 2 weeks time. There we go, getting the water on, hydrating. That's why that melanin is popping. Love to see that. What areas do you cover? So that was within the M25, is that right?
Generally within M25, yeah, we can go outside, but generally it's within the M25.
No problem. The London property deal maker just says they're appreciating this and you're giving great value, and they're hoping everyone's taking notes. I hope so too. I'm going to try and get this on the YouTube. So if you're not following the YouTube, make sure you go subscribe to that Property by Kazy. Link in my bio. Okay, Sam Norris as well. The Sam Norris. Hi, Sam. We have Sam in the building. Sam is our special guest next week as well. Sam is a specialist broker, all types of finance, so auction finance, bridging, buy-to-lets, residential mortgages, and everything in between. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Same time, same place next week for Sam Norris. Sam, thank you very much for coming on.
Brokers are my best friend.
Brokers are your best friend. They're key. And funny enough, that segue is great onto Sarah British 24, who said, how do you ensure you have a good support team such as builders, electricians? And I think builders are, your brokers actually within that support team.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, team. I mean, it starts off with your planning and your architectural drawings, and then that go into your construction team, making sure that your builders um, are familiar with the plans and with the architect. Because generally during construction, there's a lot of conversations that I had back and forth between
Hmm.
the kind of architect and the builder. So making sure they have a good relationship is key. It avoids blame games. It avoids any issues or delays on the project. Um, and yeah, it just helps. Time is of essence, key essence in property development. So you want to make sure that anything you can do to avoid delays on your project is avoided.
Amazing, amazing. So I'm just skimming through, just getting conscious of time. And the London Building Company has asked a question. However, I'm going to pin that question, ask that question again next week and direct it to Sam because their question was, what's the best way to get funds in for property development? They currently have a terraced house with quite a bit of equity, which they'd like to free up. And I do think that's best directed towards a broker. So I'm going to pencil that for next week. Again, quick fire. Quick fire questions. Let's have a look. Because we do. Oh gosh, I feel like my eyesight's getting worse and I keep squinting at the screen. Okay, yeah, that's quick couple answers, and then we're gonna wrap up in the next 10 minutes. I told you it was gonna be about an hour. You didn't believe me. I told you we're gonna
Yeah,
talk for an
yeah,
hour, and it's flown by. Actually, do you know, we've got so many so many extra questions
yeah.
that I'm gonna ask that can you commit to coming back and coming on again? Because
Oh, commit to come back. Okay.
I feel like we need this again. And not now, but maybe I think we've got people booked up until the end of mid-May. So maybe end of May, beginning of June. Can we get you on again?
Yeah, we
Okay,
can.
let
I
me.
mean, end of June would be good. We could go through my experiences on my current project that I've had to go through. So that'd be good. I think people
Nice
can learn
one.
from that, and we
No,
can also get some any architectural questions we can kind of store, and we can answer those as
no,
well.
nice one. I will. I'm going to take a print screen of all the questions that we don't manage to get to, because potentially, we'll do a little segment or we'll do a little segue or something else just to make sure we get to them all at some point in time, even if it's at our next catch up. So, do you need planning
Yeah.
permission to convert a one-bedroom masonette to a two-bed, or permission from the leaseholder? So that was the question, but I'm hoping
Yeah.
you can unpack that question to answer it.
Yeah, so generally, if it's just an internal layout configuration, planning permission is not required. What you 90% of the time will be required is a freeholder consent.
Hmm.
So this will be a package which shows the drawings in property's existing state, what its proposed layout to be, all your building control drawings, and if there's any load-bearing walls that are being changed. Um, and this is submitted to the managing agents, so the
Hmm.
freeholders, and it's for them really to agree. And then you look at your lease and make sure that that's allowed. You're allowed to make these changes and things of that nature. But in terms of actual planning permission with the borough council, it's not generally required, but there are um, different areas or reasons why you may need to provide planning permission. For example, if it's in a conservation area and you may be altering windows and things of that nature. But generally, a managing agent permission is all that's required.
Nice, nice. And I know you've done some deals in the past similar, so you got some experience in that. So if you do, you can
Yeah,
reach out for a fee quote in regards to those.
yeah,
Um, Go Giggle official. So I've just come into your live, and I've missed what both you guys specializing in property. So I'm a property developer that also has a construction company. I've been doing developments for the last 7 years. Alex is from AA Drafting, a fully qualified architect with their own architectural firm. So specialize in residential architectural drawings for those who've just tuned in. I think we're going to do maybe 3 or 4 more questions, and then we'll just sign out. And I'll let
okay.
you know, guys, where you can find Alex, what kind of we're up to, and what we're both going to be up to over the next coming weeks.
Yeah.
Our architects, sorry, Dylan Green has asked our architects willing to view a house with the developer prior to purchase. Of course, time will be covered.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that can be agreed and done. Consultations, on-site consultations, what I call them. Um,
Hmm.
I'm sure they're very handy because I guess it gives you an insight into it gives the potential purchaser an insight into what the architect feels prior to actually purchasing the property. So that's the reason I'm confident when going into developments because I immediately know what can and can't be done. So that will give you that insight and
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And for me, like, especially as a developer, like sometimes just as people, we find it really hard to part with information, but also easily part for a product. So, for example, if I go to a garage and I've got a flat tire and they tell me they're going to fix my tire and give me a new tire, I'm more than happy to pay for it because I need it. But then some people will buy a house worth hundreds of £1,000s, but not want to pay for the expertise or the site visit from somebody who's potentially going to either save or make them a significant sum of money. So I do think sometimes making those upfront expenses or upfront payments can really help with how successful either your business or your venture is at any given time.
Yeah.
Makansu, I reckon I got that right. Let me know if I did. Planning on doing a single story rear extension. However, there is a manhole in the garden. Would there be any complications on the design and build?
No complications. A Thames Water build over agreement
Mhm.
should be in place once you've got your planning permission prior to starting your build. Just submit a Thames Water build over agreement that can be done on the Thames Water website. They're going to ask for drawings of the existing drainage and drawings of the proposed. What they will ask for is that the manhole is 600 millimeters away from any sewage and sewage pipes, and they want to look at the junctions that you're forming. So whether it's a T junction or a Y junction to the existing sewer pipes.
Mhm.
They don't really allow internal manholes anymore, building
Mhm.
control. So you want to have your manhole outside of your foundations, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward,
Mhm.
and it shouldn't alter or affect your build in any way.
Nice one. So I have just turned off the questions, and that one, I think it said your name was Mackenzie. I've slid in as our last question. What I have done is I was just saving all of the questions, so potentially I'll see what we can do in regards to some of those questions. So Alex, now plug yourself. Tell the people where can they find you. Do you know what I mean? Who should get in touch? Where you at? Instagram's website, etc.
Yeah, so the Instagram is a drafting solutions. Website www.adrafting.co.uk. And
Hmm.
yeah, feel free to get in touch, DM or through the contact us page on the website.
Hmm.
And yeah, we're happy to help. We're happy to show works that we've done. And we're happy to provide any planning gains we can for your
Exactly
project.
that.
So
So I think whether you're improving your residential project, whether you're a developer that's looking at planning gains or looking at a potential new build, conversion, loft conversion, etc., definitely the man to get in touch with. Like I said, I'm going to put up a little swipe up link with a link to your contact us form, as well, because I love the people. I made sure that prior to this, I negotiated a 5 to 10% discount with Mr. Alex at AA Drafting for anybody who mentions Property by
yes,
Kazi to make sure that you guys get looked after when you're getting your drawings in. So I'll
yes,
put that up after the live. Um, I'm gonna try and get this live uploaded to Instagram, no, to YouTube, sorry, so it'll be there so people that have missed out can go back to it, and I'll see if I can get it saved as well. As I said, next week we've got the amazing Sam Norris to talk all things property and property finance. So that's from bridging to mortgages to residential to just a discussion on the market in general, with
mm,
potentially 5% mortgages coming back, 10% mortgages coming back. I think it's a really interesting time, particularly for those wanting to get into property, to really dig down into what positions you have to be in to make your first investment. So make sure you get that saved. That's Sam Norris next week. Make sure you're following AA Drafting. Make sure you're following Property by Kazi. Week
make
after that,
sure.
we've got 40 accounting, so property specialist in the accounting space. Again, another live like this where you can ask and hopefully have answered loads of really great questions. This is a segment where, again, you get to ask an industry expert something for free. So take advantage of it. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And that's all for today. Alex, thank you very much for coming on. Hopefully we will get you back
No problem.
late May, early June. Again, everybody, thanks for logging in. Much appreciated. Hope you got some value. If you have got that value, make sure you go follow Alex. Follow me if you're not already following me. And peace out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.